Welcome to my YouTube channel, Sushantreddy. Every week, I present my life lessons as an entrepreneur in sales, human psychology, and wealth creation. In episode 7 of our series on wealth creation, I discuss the concept of patience. I start by looking at what patience really is from the context of entrepreneurship. I talk about the power law and how patience is interlinked with this law. I discuss why an entrepreneur quits and how patience plays a role in that. For this episode, I have borrowed ideas described by Naval Ravikant, Shane Parrish in their respective books. To recap, we started with the SLAP formula for wealth creation. In previous episodes, I discussed the first two components of wealth creation, i.e. specific knowledge and leverage. We will keep accountability for the end because it's a bit more complex than other components. In this episode, let's focus on the fourth component, which is patience. Patience in Webster Dictionary is defined as the ability to give attention to something for a long time without being bored or losing interest. Like everything else in a dictionary, this definition is very vague and very academic. It's one of those things that you know, but you don't understand or appreciate intuitively. That appreciation comes with experience and a lot of introspection. From a practical playbook of an entrepreneur, patience is a belief in the power law called compounding. It's a belief that all good things in life follow what is called as the power law. In fact, this law is so powerful and universal that I'll spend a few minutes discussing the power law. In his now popular blog, Farnam Street, author Shane Parrish does a superb job explaining the concept of power law. You can find the link to this blog in the description below. Basically, Shane tells us that the universe is guided by a formula that looks something like this. Y equals mx raised to the power b. Y here is the output, x is the input, and b is the exponent that adds power to the power law. Basically, what this formula says is that by increasing the input x, we will see a disproportionate increase in the output y depending upon the value of the exponent b. If we go back to our high school physics, all of us looked at some form of power law without probably recognizing it. Let's start with the simplest formula. Distance is equal to speed into time. Now, this is a first order linear relationship between distance and speed. A 1 unit increase in speed will lead to a 1 unit increase in distance over a constant time. Now, you can also recollect the formula for kinetic energy. Kinetic energy E is half mv square, where v is the speed. So a 5 unit increase in speed leads to a 25 units increase in energy. This is a second order power law. The exponent here is 2. Now, for some physics geeks out there, you may also recollect a formula for rotational energy. That is half rho pi r square v cube times k. Intention is not to scare viewers with a big, huge formula, but to highlight that this is a third order power law. So a 5 unit increase in speed v leads to 125 units increase in the rotational energy. We also have a fourth order power law in calculating heat radiation. Radiation increases to the fourth power of temperature. Now, the beauty of the universe is that it has given us only one nth order power law, where the exponent is n, and that is called as compounding. The initial principle over n time periods compounds at a rate of interest r to give us the nth order power law. Compounding not just applies in wealth and money, but also applies to knowledge, reputation, love, skills, you name it. If you closely observe, power law or the compounding effect is at play in every aspect of our lives. Now, the higher order power laws like compounding follow two unique rules. The first one is that they take time to manifest. A lot of effort seems to offer little or no results for a long period of time. It's like it is operating in the background, but you cannot see or feel its presence. Once it starts to manifest, the change seems large, sudden, and rapid. It's almost like magic. When I say that patience is a belief in the power law called compounding, what I mean is that wealth, trust, health, knowledge, everything appears to grow slowly for a long time, and when the growth starts to happen, it grows very quickly over a short period of time. So for a long time, nothing seems to happen, and then suddenly when we see some activity, the subsequent change is rapid. Patience is the ability to not give up at a point where the outcome seems most unlikely. The irony in life is that the outcome is most likely when the outcome seems most unlikely. That's the beauty of power law, because it puts our persistence to the greatest test. Let's see how by looking at a few charts. I'll draw time on the x-axis and drive or motivation on the y-axis to the left side, and outcome or result on the y-axis to the right side. Let's define a minimum drive line. This defines the point where I give up. For me to continue with the project, my drive level should be above this danger mark. Let's define a minimum success line that defines the point where I want to persist with the project at hand. If the outcome falls below this line, then I no longer believe in the project and its future viability. That's the time when I most likely will quit. Okay, so we have two lines, the minimum drive line and the minimum success line. Now, if we plot drive or motivation versus time for an entrepreneur, you will notice that the drive initially raises to a peak. Let's say 3 to 6 months after you start a venture, that's when your motivation would be at the highest, and then slowly starts to fall over time once reality starts to sink in. Now, if we plot outcome versus time, it usually follows the power law, i.e., it stays close to zero for a long period of time and then slowly starts to creep upwards until it reaches a point where the power law truly kicks in and the growth takes off. Now let's see what happens in usual scenarios. Now at the point where the drive curve touches the danger mark, the danger mark is when we lose the drive to continue with the project. That's the time when we could possibly give up. Now we usually find that the outcome level at this point is below the minimum success line. So the outcome is below the expectation that we set in our own minds. At this point, a negative cycle takes control. We lose drive, so the outcomes fall. We lose further drive and the outcome falls further until we can't take it anymore and we quit for good. This is the point where most entrepreneurs tend to quit. Now suppose we could slightly slow down the process of losing our motivation. So the dotted line here shifts the curve slightly to the right, so the descent of the curve or the drop of the motivation slows down as we look over time. This means that we have slightly arrested the drop in drive over time. Now when we see the point where our drive touches the danger mark and measure the outcome at that point, we see that our outcome levels are slightly higher than the minimum success level. This is enough to keep us going, and we give the power law a chance to show its magic. And power law usually doesn't disappoint people who believe in it. It starts showing a rapid rise in outcomes. So by shifting the drive curve slightly to the right, we have participated in a miraculous rise in the outcome level. This shift in the drive curve is what we call as patience. So patience is the belief in the power law called compounding. It's the ability to arrest the drop or the fall in the drive over time. Without patience, we could never have opened the floodgates of the power law. We would never have given it the chance to manifest itself. So in the next episode, I will talk about when patience becomes a virtue and when it becomes procrastination, and how to identify the difference between patience and procrastination. To summarize what we discussed in this episode, 1. Power law is universal and powerful. It's there everywhere. You just have to dig in deeper and look deeper. You'll find the power law at play. Patience is the belief in the power law called compounding. Outcomes are most likely to happen when they appear the most unlikely. Patience is the ability to hold on when the outcomes seem most unlikely. Patience opens the gates of power law. It gives the power law the time to manifest itself, and that's why patience is super critical in everything we do. Thanks for watching. For weekly videos, you can subscribe to my channel or to my newsletter on sushantreddy.com. Until next week, goodbye, stay safe.